the creative circles in 2025. You hear this term that has been used by one ideology when it comes to creativity, or creators who are trying to use stories to express an idea, maybe a political statement, whatever. But I would say that the word woke has been widely misused, widely tossed out there, um, even though it's a brand of the word consciousness, which is used by people of a certain shade back then in the 90s. Then it evolved to where it was um, taken over by a certain group, individuals, or a certain ideology, and evolved to that word. But I'd like to let me ask you something. Let me ask you, all of you, this question, and maybe you'll have a different opinion, I'm sure, in the comments when I ask this question. But was Aesop woke when he wrote his fables? Yeah, Aesop, the slave, the Greek slave. Was he woke when he wrote his fables? You know, the fables about the frog who was too big for her skin. All the other fables involving animals, not about kings or princesses, but definitely about animals. Was Aesop woke? Remember, the fables were all about human traits, right? All about human vanities and what would go wrong if we happen to be a little bit over the top with our vainness. I would say that Aesop was not woke, even though some people would go as far as saying, yeah, Aesop was woke. He wasn't. But he was making points through all his fables that pride, or the excess of pride, the excess of vanity, the excess of anything that goes against our morals would cause the end, right? Um, there's so many fables, I can't really nail them down right now. That'd be great if I would share them with you, but I think you would have to look them up yourself. And the use of animals is definitely effective. Now, he couldn't use actual kings and queens and rulers, because that would get him in trouble being a slave. But I would say that Aesop definitely has impulse on the fact that the animals portrayed human characteristics, and those human characteristics, whatever they were, in the excess of their pride, their vanity, their arrogance, the short-sightedness, tells us something about us as well. I mean, you can still read his fables here in the year 2025 AD and still learn something of ourselves in them. That's not being woke. That's just being informed. But people will say Aesop was woke because what? Why? Aesop was not woke. And I don't know who, if anyone has presented that yet, because you love to throw the people that do this, even the bros, love to throw that wokeness out of there everywhere, even at channels, and even in the creative channels, they throw it around as if it's an evil plot to destroy humanity, which is not. I have to remind each and every person out there that in the 1960s, as the networks, the television networks, were looking for a new audience, they went to the younger crowd. This is why, one of the reasons why CBS put the axe to several shows like Petticoat Junction, the Andy Griffith Show, Mayberry, RFD, Green Acres, and replaced them with younger, hipper shows like the Mary Tyler Moore Show, All in the Family. For ABC, it was the Mod Squad. NBC was Disney. I'm sorry about that. But I'm saying to you that it's just when you hear the word woke, it's a call for a generation because advertisers see it's a younger generation now. The content for the baby boomers or the sorry not the baby boomers but the Gen Xers now are long gone. They have to go to Generation Z now for to keep the advertisements because they're fighting against the streaming services, which people of Gen Z are now looking at. They're now looking at their content. So how are these networks going to survive? Well, already we're seeing that the cable industry is facing some problems right now because everyone's cutting the cord and moving towards streaming. We now resume our essay in progress. I'm sorry, I had to take care of some family matters with a package, so I'm back. So let's move away from what I was saying before about the networks and generation has to, the networks have to address each situation as far as the challenges they're facing. And let's go with the woke aspect of Aesop's fables, which I mentioned there's nothing you can find in any of his fables that have to do with our current day definition of woke, right? I don't even think these guys understand what woke means, but again, I made a preference in the opening and do your research. But I would say Aesop's fables reach out to us as human beings because something we all can learn from, no matter what your nationality, no matter what your political stance, no matter your faith. It can reach out to us, and that's what stories have the ability to do. If it's a story, it's a fable. If it's a parable, even if it's an allegory, these don't have to address human beings in general, but it can encapsulate or it can pretty much capture what happens about a characteristics like pride, envy, jealousy, lust, and the downfall of all of that, how it causes us, or in the case of Aesop, the animals. When the frog gets too big for the skin, she wants more, and then we find out what happens to that frog, or the fox. Anything that happens to the animals in that story is a message that your pride or your vanity is out of control, and this is the end result of that vanity. There's nothing woke about it. There's nothing political about it, because Aesop was a slave, and he has seen up close about all of the vanities that happen to those in power, right? As storytellers today, it would be nice if we went back to that, but again, the times call for us to express a message regarding our backgrounds, no matter what background we're from. So again, I truly understand that part of it. But I would hope that storytellers of today in the 21st century and also write a tale weaving in their personal experience with maybe a fable. It's something we can all learn from, because I think that's the way to reach people other than saying, hey, this is for my crowd, this is my audience, because you may write for 20%, but the 80% that you need to buy your book or your content to know what you're talking about, we need to understand, and we need to be shown why this particular work is important. Now, again, when I see the Academy Awards, I see content that's made for 20% of people instead of the 80% that you need. You need a total 100% in order to get the best success for your project. But when you only cater to a small percentage and leave the rest out, it doesn't work that way. Now, because of who I am, you may think that I'm writing for my 20%. True, but my aim is always to go for the 80%. But I would say, just like Aesop, just like him, I'm striving to reach anyone who reads my work so they can understand it and know exactly where I'm coming from, right? Such as strange tales of science fiction. Um, just try to figure out the best story that I can reach people, like a fable or an allegory or even a parable, which of course doesn't have to include humans, it can include animals, and tell an effective tale and leave that in our conscious about the vanity or the downfall of our pride, ego, you name it. So with that in mind, I just wanted to tell everyone that it's good to go into the classics. It's good to read the classics, not look at them as some bygone relic of before and they don't have any importance at all. All literature written in the past, including the Canterbury Tales, tells a story. It tells a story about what life used to be like in that time period, and it's also a historical document for us to take a look at the attitudes, the people involved, the mindset of a civilization. It's important. We have to not shun or push away literature from the past, because in order for us to get the full story, I want to read more classic literature. And then if people of this generation happen to use that, splice it in, those techniques of using allegory, fables, parables into their work, perhaps we'll probably see, I don't want to say better content, but let's say improved product across the board, which would help the person writing their story about their difference outside the mainstream of traditional. It will probably help their cause. And not only that, but get more eyeballs to look at the story, which you want to happen. So all I would just say is that, as I conclude, Aesop was not woke, but he was very important as far as his fables. And we should take heed of the messages in his fables, because people practice them every day, every night, and we have to avoid that if we want to be better human beings instead of the animals that face those challenges and the downfalls. Hope it made sense in this video. I really like all types of literature, but I hope that you enjoy it too. Hope you enjoy listening to this. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. If you want to subscribe for more content like this, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate that. If you want to find out more works that I'm writing, whether it be strange tales of science fiction, relay, or my current work that's out now, it's all about fate. Please click that banner up above, and you'll be taken to my website and watch the interviews, read the interviews, check out the bio, everything I've done. And don't forget to support other authors who are doing the same thing that you like. They're sharing good work. With that being said, I want to wish you all the best. Have a good evening, day, week, whenever you're watching this. And always in closing, take care.